Hello, happy Friday. Oh, yes, yeah, happy Tuesday, guys. It's good to have you guys here. We're going to be interviewing a couple ladies, and they're going to be sharing their personal experience with getting onto a transformation process where it's part wellness, mental wellness, it's part holistic health, it's also part sexual health. And so we're really just going to get right into it. And before we do that, I wanted to explain to you a little bit about part of the science of why this works and why we're here. So this is 95% of your feel good neurotransmitters or your happy hormones actually come from your gut. So when people say that they're starting to feel better and their mood is lifted, or different mood disorders are seeming to lift, it's a lot to do with the fact that we're also targeting the gut. And we're working on aligning things in a way that reduces inflammation and just makes you feel better. And we're also focusing on hormone health here, which is such an important part of the equation, because an unhealthy gut or misaligned hormones can lead to illness, chronic pain, digestive upsets, and yes, sexual unwellness. And so we like to pay attention to those things. We like to shed a light, and we like to help people to get some solutions and answers to start feeling better. So I'm going to start with talking with Amy. Amy and her husband, Greg, they've been married for about 27 years. They have two boys, 19 and 17. And she feels like being an empty nester is probably going to be a reality soon. She's actually always been really proactive with her health, but unfortunately, age can throw some curveballs at you. So she's going to share a little bit about her health, as well as how these products that are brand new are helping up-level her marriage. Go ahead, Amy.
Oh, I love that. Up-level my marriage. That's a great headline. I love that. So I think if it's all right with you, I'll just start with my wellness journey from when I got to start on the products initially. So initially, I was in a pretty great place. Like I felt good. I wasn't dealing with any chronic illness. Just overall felt good. And so when my friend approached me about mental wellness, I was like, I know it's important, but I'm in a pretty decent spot right now. So how could it get better? And that's not to say I haven't struggled in the past. I have, but that season, I was in a good season. And she goes, right, but what if you went from this level to this level? How much more productive would you be? How much better would you feel? And I'm like, ooh, I don't know. Like, what does that look like? I was intrigued. And so my husband and I both got on products, and it did exactly what she said it would do. It took us from, being in a good place to being in an even more productive place. Feeling better, less fatigue. I didn't realize I had brain fog, like that late day. And it's not from a lack of energy, just a lack of clarity, maybe. I didn't even know I struggled with that. I didn't actually know my sleep could improve. And it went from, good sleep to great rested sleep. So it's things like that that we just leveled up before we even started this new product. Do you want me to go into the new product right away too?
I mean, I think we're all curious, and I'm just going to be perfectly honest. Sometimes, when you're married or your hormones are off or things happen, sometimes it's like you feel like you need a little something and something needs to change. So I am very curious to know what happened for you guys.
Okay, so you mentioned earlier we've been married 27 years. And we've had a great marriage. We haven't had a whole lot of the roller coaster. It's just kind of been it's been a good marriage. And age, stress, all those things set in, and things started to change in the bedroom, for lack of better words. So we had a very healthy sex life to slowing down, and didn't really understand it. I looked inwardly. Like I was looking at myself in the mirror thinking, I'm not attractive enough. I need to lose a few pounds. Maybe I'm cranky. Like I just couldn't quite put my finger on like, why did it go from really great to it it's good, but it went from several times a week to almost non-existent. And I felt rejected. I felt all the things. And then when we finally had the conversation, and it was a hard conversation to have on both ends. Like, I'm feeling rejected and he's feeling like he's not living up to his manly part of the responsibility, because men don't talk about these things. They don't talk about sex with each other to find out if what they're going through is normal, where women are like, hey, Jackie, I'm experiencing this. Are you experiencing that? And she'll be like, totally. And so it was a conversation we had to have. And finally he just said, my drive is down and I don't know why. You are, everything you're supposed to be, but this is what's happening. So we went to the doctor. Doctor immediately put him on testosterone shots. I would give them every Sunday night. He was on the receiving end, and it was just something that was hard to do. We didn't like that. It hurts him. And two, it didn't work. So bottom line is we were doing this painful thing, and there was no change. There was no change in his energy. There was no change in his drive. So back in January, we just decided, okay, this is going to be our married life. Things have just taken a back seat, and we're just going to pray they get better. Lo and behold, our new product shows up in May. Greg and I got to be testers. And in a few weeks, we noticed more patience, less nitpicking, like more, and then more touching, more caresses in the kitchen, like when I'm cooking or when he's doing dishes. Like, we just couldn't keep our hands off of each other, which again, I never had that issue, but I'm on the receiving end of it. I'm on the receiving of texts during the day, compliments, just little things around the house, like, hey, I'm up. I want to get you a drink. Let me make you a drink. No, I want to get you a drink. And I'm like, I'm good. No, I'll make you a drink. Like, it was insistent and persistent. And then 2 to 3 weeks, everything that we were experiencing just a few short years ago, intimacy-wise, returned in a heat wave. And I'm an empty nester, so we took full advantage of that. But it was not like being in our early 20s or first married. It was more intense, and there was more desire, and there was more heat and passion, and everything that we were experiencing up until the slowdown literally returned. And we are 8 weeks in and it hasn't left. So it wasn't like a dry spell stopped and then went back. It's still amazing. It's still amazing. So, like, I almost get teary-eyed thinking that this thing between us is no longer between us. Like, it's what we wanted.
That is so cool. I was just watching your like microfacial expressions. I could just like see your heart. It's a big thing. And I think we do that. We start internalizing and trying to figure out what is going on and how can we take control of something that's really just out of our control. And then for someone like you guys, where you've tried so many things and you just accepted, maybe this is it. And then in comes this new opportunity, and it's literally ignited and sparked something in your marriage where if your love language is physical touch and your love language is, having that time together, that's going to make a huge difference in your marriage. So I'm so glad. Now, one of the things that I've noticed too is that you just have this like feminine energy. You just feel a certain like level up with your emotions. Did you notice that too?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And during that time when I was looking in the mirror and I was feeling rejected and unattractive, or I had this weight gain or whatever it was, I don't see those things anymore, and nothing has physically changed. I'm actually more gray. I'm older, like, but there is this feminine quality. It's an appreciation of self.
Yeah.
And so if I do that really well, then I can give better to him and vice versa. Now, I don't know if that's what he's feeling, because I don't think men can put all of that into our kind of language, but I'm definitely on the receiving end of something really amazing.
That is awesome. Yeah. And there's actually a science behind that, which was shared in a previous interview, where when you start balancing these hormones, you start balancing a man's desire and a female's desire to actually bond with each other. So that's why all of a sudden, the guys are being more creative, maybe opening the door, doing things that maybe we haven't seen as females in a while, because it just comes naturally, right? So just like when you start to feel more energized, you might want to start working out. It's all just part of the process.
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing, Amy. I really appreciate your story. And I know that's going to help a lot of people. So thanks for bravely sharing and being online today.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Jackie. So Jackie has a lot to share when it comes to overcoming health challenges. We were talking about it and her list just kept rolling. And I thought to myself, my goodness, how can one person, go through so much in one body and then at the same time have this pivot where all of a sudden there's health and wellness and mental wellness. And then on top of that, you're doing some cool stuff in your marriage too. So I would love for you to share this with others and just let people get an idea of what can happen when you start balancing things out.
Yeah, my journey has always, it's funny, all my friends and coworkers have always said, if Jackie didn't have bad luck, she wouldn't have any. And it's always so true. It's like, okay, well, but I've always found a way to make lemonade out of lemons. It's my magic power, I think. And I battled my weight from an early age. I was always the fat kid. I was always the fat girl. I was always the chunky friend. I was always the girl that was good enough to be like the little sister and the best friend, but never good enough to date. That was me. And I had a lot of hormonal issues at a young age that I didn't realize. And looking back now at my childhood, I see how food was probably a link into a lot of that hormonal imbalance. But I gained weight my entire life. I had endometriosis. I had some false positive lupus tests. So there was autoimmune issues going on. They had told me I was never going to have children. I was going to have a hysterectomy by the time I was 25 because I had already had one ovary removed because I had so many hormonal issues. And lo and behold, my bridal shower should have been a baby shower. I found out I was pregnant with twins. So I defied doctors in that sense. And my girls were great. They're 19 now and I'm in the same boat with Amy. We are new empty nesters. So we're embarking on this whole journey. But 7 years ago, my weight got unmanageable. I no longer could control it. I had tried everything and went to the extreme of wanting to go in for weight loss surgery. And when I went in for surgery, I was under anesthesia already. And before the doctor could actually start the procedure, he actually severed my gastric artery. And I started to bleed out in an outpatient surgery center. So my laparoscopic surgery ended up being converted to what they call an open procedure. So I have a scar from my breastbone past my belly button where they opened it up just to stop the mass bleeding that, I think I had the reports that I bled out 70% blood volume in this outpatient surgery center. And when he was in there just trying to stop the bleeding, he nicked my stomach and did not know it and closed me back up, sent me off to the hospital where 5 days later, I went into full-blown septic shock. Was rushed back to emergency surgery where I coded twice. I was in full systemic failure. The inflammation was crazy. The infection was crazy. And I am just lucky to be sitting here with you. But that was the easy part. And sadly, that was the easy part. The road to recovery and the mental battle has been a lot harder than the physical survival, for sure. My depression increased, which I already had some depression prior. And so that got worse. My anxiety, I now had anxiety. I had never had anxiety before. And now I was scared of everything. I had PTSD. I couldn't sleep. I think I went 2-3 years without sleeping longer than 20 minutes at a time. And was just a walking zombie, which then makes your food choices worse, which then makes, just this domino effect. And I got up to almost 300 pounds. And it wasn't until it was Thanksgiving of 2017 when I saw a picture of myself that just shook my world. And it wasn't even so much the fact that it was this big person. It was the sadness and the despair and the sheer just giving up that I saw on my face and that I saw in my eyes. And that at that point, I was just like, okay, I am destined to be this big person. For some reason, I'm destined to be this big person. And I had to make peace with that. And it wasn't until I started making it not about the weight loss. I wanted to feel better. I wanted to do more than just survive. I wanted to just be Jackie again, but I didn't know who that was. And so I was too afraid to do anything. I was too afraid to take any diet supplements. I was too afraid to do procedures, surgeries. You forget it. If it was more than a blood draw, Jackie doesn't do it. And I had an amazing doctor that walked me through the process and pretty much asked me, she's like, well, what do you want from me? If you don't want to do a scope, you don't want to do this, what do you want? And I was just like, I just want your blessing, because I came from the medical profession. So you always get your doctor's permission. That was ingrained into me. So I went to this doctor and I was like, really? I just want to do an elimination diet. I want you to draw my blood. I want to make sure I'm not allergic to anything right off the bat. I want to see where I just want all of the markers. That's it. And I want your blessing that I can do an elimination diet. She's like, yeah, more power to you. Go for it. And I came back with no blood result allergies, but I had started embarking on anti-inflammatory. I started researching gut health, and hello, I had gut trauma. My entire intestines were flushed out. I mean, I lived with liquid bowels for 4 years, and I was told that was going to be my new normal. Just be thankful you don't have a colostomy bag. And so that was, yay, okay, I'll take diarrhea every day and bloating and just feeling miserable, and a lot better than the alternative. Again, lemonade out of lemons. And so it was just, I just wanted to feel better. And so I took these inflammatory foods, did my whole elimination process that I do. I lost 105 pounds. The weight came off. The weight literally came off. My best friend was my coworker at the time. I'd go into work and she'd be like, all right, how much did you lose today? And I'd be like, another half pound. And it was literally just from not eating foods that made my gut unhappy. Then I started noticing a correlation between my mood. I was happier. It wasn't necessarily that because the weight was gone. I mean, it's pretty darn good feeling, don't get me wrong. But the weight was gone, 105 pounds was off, and I was still miserable. I thought, all these years of being the big girl, thought if I could just lose the weight, my life would be perfect. And it wasn't. I still had depression. I still had anxiety. I still had this newfound uncomfortableness in my own skin because I did not recognize the person staring back at me at the mirror. I struggled with body dysmorphia for a very long time. To this day, I might still walk into the plus size section of a store because that was just my life. And you lose kind of that person. And then that comes with other emotional distress because now who am I? Now I'm not just the twins mom. Now I'm this person. Well, now I'm this. And then people start to notice you. And that becomes uncomfortable. So you have all of these I turned into myself. I became the most anxious I had ever been. I would go to the dentist. That was a huge trigger for me. He would pull the light down to clean my teeth, and that would trigger my response to seeing the hallway lights as I was being rushed back to surgery. I decked my dentist. I mean, it was that bad. I had to be sedated to even go get cleanings. My anxiety was so bad. There were days that I prayed. I was like, why didn't you just let me die during this? Why? And I was miserable. I was unhappy. I had my kids calling me out on my crap. I was this mean, bitter mom. My husband and I fought all the time, and it was just, I wasn't happy. Fast forward a year later, my husband suffered a massive heart attack and barely survived that, which took on his own mental struggles, his own health journey. And that compounded my stress levels even more because I'm a fixer, I'm a caregiver. I want to fix you, let me fix you. And it was actually these products were bought for him because I didn't need it, he did. And I wanted to fix him. And he was like, no, he had kind of given up. He was depressed, he had just given up. And so I started in with the products, and I kid you not, I tell people 2 weeks in, I had a life-changing poop. I had a solid bowel movement. I defied 2 doctors, and I had a solid bowel movement. Like, how great is that? And so I was like, oh my gosh, this stuff works. And so then because I was very anti marketing companies, because of all the gimmicks and the fads that in the past have given it a bad rap. And I was, coming from a medical background, started digging into the science, started talking to some of my doctor friends. They were like, oh, you're onto something here. This makes sense. And I was like, it does make sense. So I kept going with it. And before you knew it, I went in for my next physical. I hadn't lost any more weight. And I have maintained my 105-pound loss for about 2 years. I have lost more inches, which that's the whole thing. Like inflammation, that makes so much difference when you get all that stuff regulated. You lose more than just weight. But my cholesterol, 61 points, it went down just by adding our products. I changed nothing else because me being the tester that I am, I was very poignant about the things that I tested when I eliminated the foods. So then I was very poignant about what I tested reintroducing, which meant the supplements. So then I noticed my bowel changes. Then I noticed I was smiling more. My kids noticed I was smiling more. I was more present. I was nicer to my husband. And then I was like, it was the newest feeling of all was I started believing in myself. And then that was scary because it was like this confidence that I have never had before. And then I started helping other people. And then that confidence just continued to spiral. A new domino effect started. So fast forward. Oh, by the way, I also am no longer pre-diabetic. How can I forget that? My dad is a type 2 diabetic who is legally blind. His diabetes is so bad. We lost my aunt about 1.5 years ago from it. And I am no longer diabetic or in the even range of being diabetic. So that in itself was a huge accomplishment for me. I got off all of my anxiety medication. I was taking Wellbutrin, Xanax, Ativan, and another one I could never pronounce every single day. I don't even fill them anymore. I haven't filled them for the last year. Then we added in Ignite. We earned a spot as product testers. And I told my husband he had to take this one. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. He had to take this one. Because since his heart attack, the plumbing doesn't work. We've been married 20 years, the end of August this year. And he will kill me. And anyone he knows that sees this will probably kill me too. But there were times that it went months. We went months because he had no control over getting things to work. And then, like Amy said, that takes a toll on their self-confidence. That takes a toll on their manlyhood, their ableness to provide for their family and satisfy their partner and this and that. And then they become depressed. And then I was, now I'm this small person and he doesn't want to touch me. Maybe I need to be big again. Like it did a whole bunch of mind stuff to me. And we didn't communicate about it. Well, then he got this incredible offer that relocated him out of state. Did not help that we were separated for 7 months. We argued. I didn't want to move. I didn't want to leave my kids. Like I said, we're empty nesters. They stayed in one state and I moved to be with him. And honestly, if it wasn't for Ignite, I probably would have strangled him by now. No joke, because learning to live with this man again has been really hard. And cleaning up after somebody else, you live alone for a little bit and you have to reintroduce that. But even more so, he feels more present. He feels like we're talking more. He feels like I recover quickly and am kinder to him. And the plumbing worked on demand, and it was amazing. But I have to go a step further and tell you, I am one of those renegades who I take one of each. I take a his and a hers. And since I did that, I have become quite more frisky. So a little tip out there for you ladies, you might want to try a blue pill. But this saved us because of his heart condition. He couldn't take medication. He couldn't take the things that would help the issue because he had nitroglycerin on board. So, and we're talking, he has 27% heart function. So this doesn't give him any stimulants. He's been able to take our products, and he notices that he feels good.
Awesome. Wow. Okay. So like I said, Jackie has been through a lot. And for us to say that she has had a transformation is probably an understatement. And so I'm so grateful that you shared that with us, Jackie, and Amy too. You know, here's the thing. We don't really know what's possible. We don't know until we know, right? We don't know what we don't know until we find out that we didn't know it. And so Jackie went looking for answers because what choice did she have? You know, Amy was presented this opportunity, and I'm going to give you the same one. We have here a protocol. It's very simple, and you just take it every day, and it takes the edge off your body, gets things back. You know, we're supporting some of the alignment or balance of hormones of your gut, and we're optimizing your brain, and we're supporting your mood. And to us, that is a life-changing opportunity for people. And so if any of this story, you don't have to have resonated with the entire story for this to be a good fit for you. But if part of this story sounds like you and you're wondering if this is something that could help you too, I'd love for you to go ahead and reach out to the person who invited you to this group. You can comment below and just simply say, you know, interested in information, and we'll get the right person to. We'll get you some information for you to evaluate, some science. You know, sometimes we really would love to just have a moment to hear your story too. So have an amazing night. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to talking with you all soon again next time. Bye.